Hey everybody, my name is Aldous Collins and this is Shine the Light. And today we have Quincy native Holly Nichols.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
So she's a fashion illustrator. She's an artist and she's a published author. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you got into your journey.
Yeah, I grew up in Quincy. I still live here. And I went through the public school system here, and I took art lessons both privately and through Quincy Public Schools. Growing up, we had a program. I went to North called the Renaissance Program, which allowed us to pick a either visual or performing art that we were attracted to. And after lunch, we exclusively studied that for our junior and senior year. So I think it was a pretty unique program at that grade level that we were able to kind of focus on a study quite similar to what you might do in college. And I picked art. And that's what helped me decide that I wanted to go to art school, which I did. I went to Endicott College and I studied fine arts with a focus in studio art. And after graduating, I think I went on this path that a lot of my fellow classmates were on, which was just confusion as to where to go next. And I took on a few odd jobs. I was working as a bartender. I was working as a teacher in a classroom at one point. At the same time, I had started this Instagram account that I was just posting my illustrations that I had created in school and on the side just for fun. And at the time, this was 2013, 14, so Instagram wasn't really utilized the way it is today, but it caught on really quickly. And within 6 months of me starting this account, I was able to quit all my other jobs and become a full-time fashion illustrator. And fast forward about 7 years to where we are now, I'm still working as a full-time illustrator, and I've had these amazing opportunities, most recently the how-to book. So I'm quite grateful.
That is it's pretty amazing. I mean, as a person or myself, as like, being in the social media world, I'm not crazy on it, and I probably started a little too late or didn't put the pedal to the metal at the right time or whatever, but it's unbelievable kind of what you've accomplished. I mean, to have almost 700,000 followers, that's no joke. And it's not common. And it's something to be like, I mean, the right place at the right time, but you're doing the right things. And I don't know, it's pretty cool. And I know we had talked about your path before, but what is interesting to me is that social media has allowed you to have, something that you kind of spoke to it a little bit right there. You're like, well, my friends and we were doing this and doing this, and then you're putting your feet in the social media and developing your account allowed you to quit everything else where you didn't know what your path was. That's awesome.
Right. I always want to think that I don't believe it would have worked out that way if I had done it with intent. So when I created this account, I truly just needed a place for my art to exist that wasn't in a physical portfolio, though those old school ones that we used to carry around. And that the easiest place for me to do that was Instagram.
Yeah.
I kind of naively went into it without any expectations, and it grew into something great. And I've observed a lot of other people with successful accounts, and that almost seems to be the common thread. Is it was just this organic thing, and I think that might have changed a little over the years. Now we see a lot of viral moments that were created, but yeah, I still love it. I'm happy that I've been doing this for 7 years, and I still wake up every day excited.
I wonder if, I mean, you can tell me, but like in your creations now, I mean, now it's served you as a job, and we'll get to your book and all these these endeavors that you've been on. But are you still creating when you put it out there with a intent to just share your art, or do you have, I mean, or are you having direction when you're posting?
I'd say 98% of the time I'm just creating and putting it out there. What usually ends up happening with those is my audience will comment and say, where can we buy this? Or can we buy it on a cell phone case? So it ends up getting monetized in some way. But
Mm,
it's truly me just in my studio creating something that I'm inspired by and putting it out there. The other remaining percent, which is very small, is a post that's been sponsored. I have leveraged my platform in that way.
mm,
It's a very small amount. And when I take on any sponsored content, it's with a brand or an initiative that makes sense to what I'm already doing. I'll never do something that's so far away from who I am or what my work is like that it doesn't make sense.
mm.
And usually, aside from we're required to disclose that it's an ad, but aside from that, it's something that at
Wait,
first glance,
that's interesting.
what's
How are you required to disclose that? Is that through your contract, or is it through? It's not through Instagram,
it's
is
an
it?
FTC regulation. Um, so, and this has developed as social media has been monetized in more detail, but we are required as influencers or anyone that's monetizing a post or gaining any type of exchange, whether it's a brand that gave me a dress to draw and post, or a brand that's paying me to create this illustration to post on behalf of them, you are required to write either hashtag ad or sponsored. And furthermore, it's now required that that be prominently displayed. When people were first monetizing their platforms, they'd find ways to kind of hide it. So it was less apparent, but
Mm.
that's been quickly caught on too. And
Do
we
you
have,
think that is that more your level?
that's anybody.
Really?
Yeah, it's an
Mm,
FTC rule.
mm. So it's
There's
more your
also,
level. It's more your level where it's watched.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
There's
peons
a
like
lot of
me.
people who have gotten in trouble for it though, so I don't take any risks. uh,
Sure.
yeah, so that's a small percentage of the work I do, but
Mm.
when I do it, it's something art related or something that's fashion related that I can adapt into artwork.
So, starting with your roots in the beautiful city of Quincy, you had the Renaissance program, which sounds amazing and really like a cool opportunity to foster your direction, talent, and just kind of get into something, which is hard, I think, as a kid to understand what you want to do. So to have that open, it almost sounds like mildly Vogue-techish,
Yeah.
which is it's a beautiful thing because people are allowed to explore what they want to explore. But you were able to do that, and then you end up working with Tresemme, Saks Fifth Avenue, Barney's, Neiman Marcus, Disney, Living Proof Haircut Care, and what other ones, or what out of those experiences would you take away and have something to share, or just be like, which one blew you away?
Well, I've loved them all, and I've been very lucky that I've never really had a nightmare client situation after all this time. They're all so understanding. When I say they, I mean brands are also understanding of what an artist has to give. So we work really well together, understanding that my opinion and skill has value, and usually a brand working with you will understand that, and it
Mm,
ends up being a really great project when that comes together. My favorite one out of those was with Tresemme. I went to them. I went with them to New York Fashion Week, and since then I've gone every season with different brands. But I went with them to New York Fashion Week in February. So it was freezing cold in New York. And we went backstage with the models, and I was sketching different hair and makeup looks. in partnership with Tresemme. So I would include somehow the hair product or do an illustration that showed a hairstyle that was created with the hair product. And then once the backstage portion was over, we'd go sit and watch the show on the runway. And I do illustrations of the fashion that was coming down the runway for each of those shows. That was an incredible experience. It's just wonderful to see fashion happen in real life coming down the runway, because previous to that, I was just blogging into Twitter or one of the blogs to see what designers were showing at Fashion Week, and I draw from that. So it's totally different seeing it 360 in front of you.
Well, one thing I have to share with people watching right now is that this is our second take on doing this interview, and I think it speaks to who you are. Like, you were very flexible. We just had a problem with the recording before, so we had a perfectly good interview. You and I, like, I really enjoyed it. You were really nice, and it was a nice interview. But here we are doing it again, and you were very open to it. So kudos to you. You're on top of being successful. I think you have a kind heart. So it's really cool.
Oh, thank you. I have no reason not to be. And I think we all should be that way, but I appreciate your time as well.
Well, it's nice, and we're trying to do something nice by highlighting people that we think are, movers and shakers, and just nice people that are developing a nice community. And I think that your story is something to share because it's impressive. It's impressive. It must make you feel good. And I think that's kind of what we want to do. Like in life, you want to make people feel good and celebrate each other and lift each other up. And here you are, young and successful, and carving out your path, and you're sharing your story. I think that I'm hoping you still have your book with you.
I do.
Okay, awesome. I'd love to, you kind of shared your story, and on the back, you had read it before, but I'd love to go through that again, just to, so people can see like how passionate and how devoted you are. To be an artist is one thing, to be a published author is another thing, to be a business person. I mean, you're checking a lot of boxes, so it's impressive, and we'd love to, show what you got going on. This book is called Modern Fashion Illustration.
Yeah, so I was so happy to be able to do this, because I love sharing my process, mostly on social media. I do a lot of educational clips and tutorials, tips and tricks and stuff like that. So it's great to be able to solidify everything that I've done and aired and shared into a physical book. I'll share a bit of the back, what I wrote. So the back just leads with channel your inner artist. And I always say to everybody that I think everyone is an artist, whether you're an artist that's sketching on paper, or if you're just having creative thoughts. I think of that as art too. Even a lot of young artists are quick to say, I'm an artist. It's almost like you need some form of validation to call yourself that. And I think that's just ridiculous. So if you are creative in any way, just consider yourself an artist. And I write, whether you've always loved to draw or are just a fan of fashion, sketching can be a great way to express yourself and work some creative muscle. And you don't need an art degree to get started. This hands-on book offers step-by-step guides to the art of fashion illustration, with an emphasis on whimsy and fun. From basic technique to technical tools and social media tips, you'll find everything you need to develop a style of your very own. It's just a little preview of the book, but it's filled with tutorials and imagery. And something that we discussed earlier, but I wanted to share, is that when we were creating the stock of the book, the cover and the inside pages, it was important to me that the pages be something that people could sketch with any materials on. So the back pages typically have little coloring pages if you don't want to draw from scratch. And these, the paper is absorbent, so you can use colored pencils or markers. The one thing I would say is water-based materials might not work as well with these, like watercolors, things along those lines. But so yeah, it's something that you can utilize both as a resource, but also as a surface.
Awesome. Where would people find this, and where would people find anything that is Holly Nichols related?
So the book is available with any booksellers. I always encourage people to head to their local bookstore. If they don't have it in stock, they can order it. It's available at the Quincy Public Library. Amazon is an option if you want to go that path. Barnes and Noble, the local Barnes and Nobles will carry it. Yeah, basically anywhere books are sold, you can
That's
grab
that
that.
that's amazing. So is that, are you just national or international with that book?
International. The international published date was a few days ago, actually.
Oh,
So available
congratulations.
international.
Wow, that's a
Thank you.
big deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Interesting to see people they taking selfies with the book and seeing where they are. So the book is getting a lot more places than I will ever go, which is great.
Oh, that's so awesome. Um, so what would be a tip that you would give people? And you've kind of said it a little bit, but you're young, you're passionate, and you have good follow through. You're a Quincy native that has, come up through the trenches and, made your mark. What would you say to a young, inspiring artist, or creative person, that was kind of this, like almost like a mantra? Like I have personal mantras that I think of and I say to myself, and they change over years or whatever. But I'm interested to say what you say to yourself, not in a cheesy way, but in a, you know, to celebrate yourself, to like, give yourself the motivation to get through. What are maybe not a mantra, but even just a thought.
Yeah, well, I touched on it a little bit ago, but considering yourself an artist, so everybody's an artist, and I always think of like why the reason why people don't consider themselves an artist is due to an inhibition of some sort. And even in art making, a lot of times we're stopped due to some sort of roadblock, whether that be a financial reason we can't get our hand on art tools. And art tools are extremely expensive. Even the
Yeah.
student grade art tools, they're extremely expensive. So if that's the case, just starting to practice your skill with maybe pencil and paper. You can do so much with just graphite and any stock of paper. I used to draw on napkins when I was bartending.
Oh yeah.
um, if the roadblock is,
Where did you bartend?
I bartended at my Endicott College has a wedding venue. It's a gorgeous place called Mistlewood, and I was a bartender for weddings, so I saw a lot of interesting things during that job.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, but maybe the roadblock is creative block, which we all dread. I think one of the tools I've always heard to get around creative block is to just power through it and keep drawing. But a lot of times, if that creative block is due to burnout, that's not going to help. So not being afraid of resting and just not making art for a little bit, it will come back to you. I know a lot of times it feels like it's not going to. But a short answer to your question, I think, would just be to locate that roadblock and find a creative way to get around it.
Mm. Well, you're a super nice woman, and you are, super talented. And it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I'm thankful that you took some time to talk to us again, and kind of look forward to, like, with our quad, which is Quincy Urban Arts District. What we're trying to do is create that community that can bring, outlets for people to find their paths and achieve, and just support each other. And maybe we'll figure out a time or something where people can connect, and bring you in, and maybe you could talk at some point, or just be a part of something to solidify the community that we're trying to build. Maybe through COVID, our vision of having a renaissance period in the area will happen. And it does seem like people are itching to, you know, flex their creative souls.
Oh, it's coming. It definitely is. And I appreciate what you're doing. And it's an honor to be amongst those featured. I've watched your previous highlights, and they're just great. And this community is wonderful. And there's so many artists and creative thinkers and movers and business owners in Quincy. So it's great that you're highlighting us, and we certainly appreciate it, especially this year.
Well, we're glad we found you, and glad you took the time to talk to us. And it was a pleasure talking to you. And we'll be in touch. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Holly Nichols. And you have a couple handles on Instagram, which is probably where you want people to find you. So why don't you name those, and that way people will know where to get you.
Yeah, you can find me at my handle on Instagram at H Nichols Illustration, which I understand is quite wordy. So if you search my name on Instagram, which is Holly Nichols, the account will pop up. I have a little blue verified badge. That's the account you can follow. The other one is
What's blue verified mean? Over 500,000?
no, it's this ridiculous thing that people seem to strive for that one day just popped up on my account. I have no explanation over it, but yeah, I don't know why. It's this kind of abstract thing that people feel is some sort of golden ticket, which it's just a little graphic. But it does help people find out who the legitimate account is. So in that sense, I appreciate it.
If you follow Holly's 5-step program, you'll get your blue.
No, so that's how you can find me. Just search my name, Holly Nichols. I do have another personal account where I share kind of just lifestyle pictures, and that's called Holly Living Artfully. A little less exciting, but that's just kind of my free space to roam.
Don't you have 3?
No, just those 2.
Okay, all right. I thought you were on the 3. Well, you're awesome. Really appreciate your time, and you're such a talent, and it's great to see you succeeding, and it's great to see you still living in the beautiful city of Quincy. So
yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
thank you too. You're awesome.
Have a great night.
You too. See you soon. Bye-bye.